Welcome in, everybody. What's up? How's it going? It's me, Halfd0rk. Thanks for tuning in to another Sandstorm episode. Today, we're going to be in Vox Edit, but I just wanted to review some quick news before we get started. So if you're just hopping in, if you look above me, that's a prairie dog. That's what we're going to be making today in Vox Edit. Going to be checking out some of the templates and starting from a template. But our objective is to make a prairie dog. I think it'll be fun. So today, January 3rd, 4th. Today's the 4th. Starting tomorrow, Sandstorm is going to be at CES 2023. So this is an event held in Las Vegas every year. So Sandstorm is going to be representing us, the Metaverse builders, and hopefully, putting, the names of people who build in the sandbox into the hands of various brands as they, network while they're over there. So there's over 3,000 Metaverse builders of the Sandstorm at the moment. And so you can check out any of the portfolios inside of their marketplace. Here is a little bit more about the ongoing event. It's Thursday through Saturday is the Las Vegas CES 2023. So a little bit more context about what the CES is about. There's quite a few attendants, usually up to 45,000. There's going to be 40,000 digitally. So it might be fun to try and poke around and see if we can spot the Sandstorm booth, maybe online. A lot of media will be there, global exhibits, as well as several different conferences and keynotes. So we'll get to hear more about that when they return. But the key takeaway here is one brand is going to get a lucky $1,000 build proposal just to get started in the sandbox. Can you imagine like a shoe company, for example, winning this giveaway, and then they're going to recruit someone in our space, our ecosystem, the sandbox, and give them $1,000 to build them, an experience, or perhaps like a line of shoes in the digital voxel style. So because Sandbox and Sandstorm is going to be showing off profiles, you're going to want to update your profile as soon as you can, if you can, this week, because that's going to be Thursday through Saturday is the live event. And so the better profiles are going to be shown off. So the sooner you update your stuff, the better. We also have 2 contests going on in the Sandstorm. You can check out this one. This is a sandbox contest, so building something in Vox Edit. So the France and Argentina World Cup match, well, it's your turn to create a decisive moment. In the penalty shootout, you can feel the tension. It's your turn to shoot. The victory of your team is in this final depends on you. Concentration is key. You can do it. Builders must create a scene from a penalty kick with the goal animation. Goalkeeper catching the ball, you decide. So this one, you want up to 5,000 faces, an animation of 8 seconds. So, like a shooter about to make that penalty kick, and then the goalkeeper diving one way or the other. It's all about the setting, the animation. The size limit's up to 512 voxels by 512 by 512. Just for reference, a character is about 64. So that's quite a large limit to, constrain. The deadline, however, is 5 days from now. So today including. You have till January 8th at midnight UTC. That's roughly like 8 p.m. EST. Prize pool being 1,500 sand for first. If you want to explore Decentraland, there's also the Metaverse Olympics contest. So you can make something in a Blender that represents the Metaverse Olympics. So these are events that challenge competitors and put avatar skills to the test. Billions of people are expected to challenge this and viewing in the Metaverse Olympics. Can you imagine one day there being these online, basically esports arenas in the Metaverse? I think Sandbox and Decentraland will be, that type of meeting grounds where you can meet with your friends and you can watch these esports competitions. I think the Metaverse has a great opportunity to scale into the next big social media if done right. And so with Blender, you're going to be making something for Decentraland, developing a stadium and an avatar animation that shows off what a sporting event will take place. So maybe a soccer stadium, or animating a soccer kick or goalie throw. I think the World Cup is still fresh on everybody's mind, so that's what they're suggesting. Up to 40,000 poly count, no bigger than 60 megabytes, and height up to 46 meters, and that's in the scale of Blender. Yo, what's up, Lord Camp Wolf? Welcome in. Mosquito, I hope you're doing well as well. Prize pool is pretty big for this one, 2,500 USDC. So this is a great opportunity to teach yourself a new skill set with like Blender, as well as getting it into the various ecosystems of Decentraland. And so we have DCL Curations, who hosts a show once a week or more, and he'll help teach you how to make something such as an SDK for deployment. So I've never tried to do this, but I'd give it a shot. Yo, G, what's up, dude? Welcome in. So deadline for this one, 15th of January. So you still have like almost 2 weeks to get that going. But yeah, good luck to anybody that wants to participate. I'll drop the links for both of these contests in chat if anybody wants to take a peek. I think this one is for Decentraland. And then we also had the one for Vox Edit. Speaking of Vox Edit, we're going to be hopping into Vox Edit today. And we're going to be making a prairie dog. I'm very excited for this one. So I've always wanted to make like a little critter. Ironically, there's been like 2 or 3 people that have made my cat before I've kind of like finalized my own cat as a voxel creature. And so shout out to V and Voxmaker Mark, who both made Tipsy as a creature, little character. So I want to make a prairie dog. This is an animal that I want to eventually be popping up and out of, the ground. So we're going to be making an animation for it, but we're going to be starting with a small mammal template. Yeah, gopher. That's true. Prairie dog, gopher, tomato, potato, same thing, right? So I'm going to save it in my folder structure. You can, get a glimpse of, but generally I do the year followed by the month number and then the name of the month. So at first glance, I could be like, oh, this is the folder for January. Also, you can see I have up to October here. In fact, I have 2002 up to May, but I'm going to be reorganizing this. So essentially all these folders are going to go into my archive folder, but I'm going to be writing our prairie dog or our gopher into this one. So this is our January folder. I'm going to do prairie dog _ v1. And so I've just saved a new template, and we can just go ahead and get to work here. You can see it's named it according to the template name. So we're going to save this and then see if our folder, we can open this. It's still going to name it that template. So I actually do not want that template name. And that's just for my own personal uses. So I'm going to make a new folder specifically saving the template as something new. So this time now it's got the correct naming convention. So that's just for my own uses. All right, cool. So making a prairie dog. This is going to be fun. We'll start with a color palette. So I'll jump into the head and I'm going to load a palette. And so I have 3 different palettes that I tend to work from. I have a full palette and a sandbox palette, and then I have like a palette that I exchange every once in a while. This one was for a reptile, but we're not making a reptile today. Instead, I'm going to use the sandbox palette. And if anybody wants this, I can supply it to you. Palettes can be loaded, saved, appended. I've never actually appended a palette. That's interesting. But saving and loading palettes, very simple. It's just registering from a PNG strip of colors. So we've already got like the prairie dog color kind of like set up for us. So that's very convenient, to say the least. So what I think I'll do is I'll edit these colors just a little bit. And so like the nose, for example, I want a nice black nose, little button nose there. Maybe for the eyes, we'll also use perhaps like a darker black. For those, I'll probably pick a different color. So for example, like this maroon red. And then I'm going to paint those right there. This color, yeah, something like that. So now I'm going to save this palette as a new palette specific to this character. So I'll go back into my folder, so our prairie dog folder, and I'll go ahead and save it. Generally speaking, I want it to be at the top of our list. If I put like a symbol or underscore, it'll put it at the bottom. So what I'll do is I'll do b_palette, which it's only one L. We'll save it. And so now if I exit out of this head and we go to the ears, which we'll make tiny little ears, I can go to load palette. And so our B palette is at least at the top of the list here. So I can easily find it, swap it out. It looks as though this dark color is the first color in our palette. I do probably want like a darker brown instead. So what I'll do is I'll copy one of these colors over, paste it, and yeah, I'll use this dark brown instead and resave the palette. So usually I'm setting up my palette with the first couple things I'm, editing inside of a template. And yeah, G, good luck with learning Blender. Blender is it's a lot. I'll say that much. I'm also trying to teach myself Blender. There's like a steep learning curve to getting projects up and running, but once you have that initial knowledge, like you're good to go. But I'm still learning the initial stuff. Cool. So I should have saved this new palette, and then I'll go back into the head. And this one I'm not too worried about because it's got all the same colors, but I'll load the palette anyway. Generally speaking, I want to use the same colors for everything. So we're going to hop into each one of these assets, and we're going to load that palette that we're committed to. The ears, while I'm here, I'll probably shorten them until I get like the size I want. So if we take a look at my reference image, the ears themselves are a lot smaller. In fact, I probably don't even want ears this tall. Like maybe I'll even have them like sticking out the side. For now, this is a good starting point. Starting to look more cat-like than rodent. But yeah, let's go ahead and load the palette, and then we can work on those ears. So this will give me a good kind of foundation, having all these colors set up. And then ideally, we'll be able to finish the prairie dog, and then we can start on that digging animation. So we want like the prairie dog to go in and out of the dirt. So it looks like all of his legs are going to be like a darker brown. We'll probably swap that. So it's using the default color depending on whatever was first selected in my palette. Load these. Ooh, interesting. I'm picking between all the royalty-free music choices. So one thing to notice here is I have two different colors that are sharing the exact same space. This is referred to as Z fighting. So they're basically fighting over the same voxel space in 3D, environments. And so what we can do is we can adjust that pivot point. That'll easily fix everything. One thing to note is my template is uneditable right now. So I'm unable to edit these animations. There's no edit options. So that's something we don't want. We'll come back to that. For now, let's focus on the Z fighting issue. So in order to fix that, we're going to want to edit the pivot point. So the pivot point is right behind my camera here. So let me hide the camera. and you'll be able to see it. So this button here will allow us to change the pivot point. You can see that a gizmo appeared. So these are called gizmos when you have a clickable object that affects the placement of an asset. And all we need to do is offset it by like 1% or like 0.1% in each direction. So all I did was offset it by 0.1 on the x-axis, which is left to right, and then the z-axis, which is forward and back. And that'll be easy to match on the opposite side. So we'll do the same thing, loading that palette that we made, and then also moving it forward just 1% of a pixel, and then 1 on the outside. I think we want outside, so this direction we're going to go to 0.99, because again, the opposite side we did 1.01, and that caused it to go out to the left side. Instead, on this opposite, we're going to go out to the right side. So that means moving it in the other direction on the x-axis. I'll save that. Put my camera back up so you can see my pretty face. The Z fight. Yeah, we're fighting for it. How's it going, Ale? Sometimes glitches look good. That's true, Mosquito. That's a very good point. For a prairie dog, though, do you want a glitchy prairie dog? I don't know. So let's go ahead and load the rest of the palettes. Oops. Load. And this just gives me the color selection to work from, because you can see on the template, all we had was the grayscale. And even on that, like, they're only giving us 3 color palettes to work from. By loading this palette, I basically have a predefined set of colors, and we have this whole top row that is all like prairie dog color. So we'll be able to paint and consistently have the same colors too, which is very important. So I tend to work in a way that I set myself up for success. So by doing all of this in advance, I save myself some time in the later parts of making assets. And while it does look odd right now, like, we could totally export it as is. There wouldn't be a problem. Which reminds me, I have a couple assets I haven't exported yet. I actually made a raccoon like a couple months back, and making this prairie dog reminded me of that. But we're going to be making a lot of adjustments to this template. And so that brings up my next point. We want to adjust this template, and right now I cannot edit the animations. So what we need to do is save this prairie dog, and this time I'm going to make a version 3. So we're creating a new one. We're going to do prairie. Is that how you spell prairie? Prairie. You know what? This is important. Prairie dog. Okay, there's a second I. Prairie dog underscore v3. Prairie's a fun word. Cool. So now we're in an empty template, or an empty animator file. I'm going to hide my prairie dog so you can see this. There is, next to the root on the skeleton, we have import hierarchy. So I'm going to click import hierarchy, and then I'm going to import the one that we've been working from. And so what that does is it unlocks that template, that grayscale version, which we did give color. And now it's imported all the colored assets, which all have that palette already pre-attached to it. So it's reading that file already. And so it's also unlocked the animation. So now I can work from these animations. And with a prairie dog, they're going to be standing on their hind quarters. So we're going to be making a lot of adjustments to where it looks as though, our animal, this creature, is on their hind quarters. Interestingly enough, they have 2 idle animations, one of which is static. So what we'll do is we're going to work from this one, and then we can copy paste it onto the other one, or vice versa, either or. So instead, I'll work from this one as our default, and we're going to get that positioning just right. So let's go ahead and pivot it to where it's more prairie doggy. That's the body. That's the main frame, which, yeah, we want the body to be rotated more or less vertical. A little bit of a slant. We'll rotate the head a bit. Probably position it slightly forward. We'll rotate the legs. These legs will likely get changed a bit. Same with the feet. Prairie dogs have tails, little tiny tails. So we'll actually add a few voxels to this. Make it curved, kind of like the prairie dog in my picture here, my reference image. Which, if you would like to have a reference image pretty much overlaid on top of whatever you're working on, I use a software called PureRef. So PureRef. I won't link to that website, but if you search PureRef, you'll be able to find it. Is it possible to add a preset animation to an already animated character? Yesterday, I went crazy, you couldn't. So Ale, that's a great question. The first thing I would suggest is double checking you have all of the same named skeleton bones. That's what the animations are reading. So if you have the same names on every single bone, so you have to have all the same bones, you have to have all the same names, you'll be able to import an animation. However, if you're working from a template, it's far easier because you can just copy paste everything. And you would go into your Windows Explorer or your Apple Mac Finder, and you would find the names of those files. So let me see if I can do that real quick for you. And so, yeah, thank you for asking questions, by the way. So anybody that has questions, no matter, big, small, I'll try my best to answer them. And, because I'm the guy with the camera on, I'll show you as best as I can. So we can use our bunny as an example, sure. So we can see here the idol that I started animating. It looks, he's kind of got like this stance. And so I'll use our V2 as an example. We can see our stance here. We want to look at the idol. Oh, which, by the way, it doesn't have the default. So let us edit one of these real quick in our V3. So in V3, I'm going to change the get hit. So the get hit, instead of going to the left, I'm going to make him jump up. He'll jump up, and this is just for, us learning, I suppose. So he'll jump up like that. So that's what our get hit is going to look like. How does it reset? Where's the keyframe I just added? And why? Okay. I'm a little bit confused as to why it moved it and didn't move it back. So I'm only animating this keyframe. I'm going to move it up and out. It's supposed to go back. I only moved one keyframe. Not sure why it's doing every single keyframe like that. But what I'll do is I'll copy this and paste it on the last one. So now we can see him, jump out like so. Make sure all our keyframes are lined up. Cool. So this is Prairie Dog V3 Get Hit 01. Let's go back into V2 and we'll check out Get Hit. We can see it's just default normal. Now I'm going to go into my Vox Edit folder and I'll put this up on screen for everybody. So in our Vox Edit folder, I'm going into our organized January 1st, and we edited the Prairie Dog V3. If we take a look in V2, we'll take a look at all the files associated with this Prairie Dog. Let's sort by list. We want view list, and then we're going to sort by. We can see the file here. I'll do sort by type, and then we'll see get hit 01. As long as it has the exact same name as, you know, the others, the conventional names, and the skeleton matches, we can replace it. So I'm going to delete this one, but first I'll copy the name, the delete, and then I'm going to go into my V3, the one that we just, you know, made. We made that jumping prairie dog. I'm going to find our get hit, and then I'm going to make a duplicate of it. And this one, I'm going to change the name. So basically we have the prairie dog V2, no second I. And then I'm going to cut that and paste it, basically replacing the previous one. So we see here, it's named the exact same. If I go now into our old prairie dog, the one that did not jump up, if everything was set up correctly, yeah, he jumps up now. So you're able to copy paste animations so long as they have the exact same skeleton structure. So I hope that helped. I hope it wasn't too hard to follow. Boop. But yeah, Ale, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to do my best to help. I would say I'm more of a game maker rather than box editor, but I at least know my way around the software. Okay, so let's get back to making our V3 prairie dog. So this is our unlocked template, so I'm able to adjust the keyframes. It's kind of funny how they couldn't spell controller right. Genius. Hey, glad to hear it, Ale. But yeah, taking animations from templates is probably the easiest thing. So I showed you kind of like an easy thing you can do where I had the small mammal template, took the animation, copied, edited, whatever, and then put it on a different one that also was from the same template. So if you have humanoids, that's a great way to get like the new human dances, for example. Like you can put that on an old asset. Okay, so let's go ahead and change up our stance a little bit more. We're making that prairie dog stance. And then we're gonna adjust things from there. So with our rodent, he has like these bendy arms. So we're gonna make the bendy arms. So his paws will probably be a little bit more claw-like. So these are very flat. Prairie dogs, you know, they kind of grab things, they pick them up. So we'll maybe even give them like some little thumbs, perhaps. But we want to make this small. Like we have a limited amount of space here, and it doesn't have to be too complex, especially using, you know, voxels. So we'll take one of our darker colors. We'll give him like a little bit of depth to his claws here. We'll do like 1, 2, 1, 2. Change the colors of these. I guess that looks ugly. So those look kind of claw-like. You're smashing your PC. No, don't do that, Ale. Animations are definitely worth learning, though. It takes some time to get used to the workflow. You know, every software is different too. It's like if we were to jump into Blender with these files, like the animations are completely different. Like all the tools are different. Okay, so he's got these little paws now. Those look nice. I'll probably make his claws a little bit darker because, you know, he's digging around, he's picking up dirty things. We can use this dark color. And maybe closer to his paws, like it's going to be a little bit more of a light gray. Or brown, tan-ish. Save that. And then working up his arm, we'll use that same light gray. Or tan, I keep saying gray. And then it like kind of gradually gets lighter. because it's less dirty closer to his forearms. Makes you a new folder, then a folder, and a folder. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, Ale, whenever you make a new animator file, so I highly recommend just staying in Animator, by the way. And, you know, other voxel editors will say the same thing, and that's who I learned from. So, for example, you know, if we're in an Animator and we're making a new asset, it's creating that folder. It's creating a file that you can make multiple, you know, vox edit limbs, pieces, you know, a multi-sectional asset. So Animator by default is making that folder for you. If you were in the modeler, by comparison, you're making like one singular file. And so if you're doing one singular file, such as a piece of paper or a number, that's great to use the modeler. However, Animator not only adds just animations, you're creating a folder for your, you know, workspace because it has multiple limbs. It's using those, you know, folders to host all of your different files. So that probably answers your question. So if you're only adding or creating, you know, a singular item or a singular limb, then you'd want to use the modeler. But because the bulk of assets are complex, and, you know, you're trying to make something complex, that's why we use the animator more often. So the whole structure of my prairie dog is basically going to change. Again, I was using a rabbit template, a small mammal to be specific. So we're kind of adjusting it as we go. And it started as a rabbit, but we're making a prairie dog. And we can use the various different tools over here, like, for example, swapping between tools. We can use, let's see, Y, U, let's see, Y is bucket, U is face, I is the eyedropper, O, also face, or we have the box tool here. And so I'm changing it. There's the modes. So you have the select mode, the create mode. So that's if you want to make more voxels. We have the color, which is what I'm using. So I'm basically coloring these voxels differently. We have erase, and you can change what to erase depending on what tool you're using. So you have pen tool, which is one at a time. You have the line tool, which allows you to go vertically or horizontally. Rectangle tool, which I use pretty often because you can do bulk. We have circle tool, which this is a poor example, but you get the idea. You can do circle shapes with it. Sphere tool, same thing, but you're doing 3-dimensional. Box tool, I've been told is much more efficient than some of the other tools. So a lot of creators I know use this box tool, so it's worth getting used to it. But for now, we're going to use the bucket tool and just paint this arm the same color. So swapping back to the color tool and save. And I'm using F to center on the asset that I'm working on. Let's see, that's his little paw there, which does look a little bit unnatural, so I'm going to revisit it. Something like that. Okay, we'll stick this arm in, and I do like how we're like rotating these arms in, almost kind of like a little T-Rex. And then same deal here with this little paw. Change the color of this using the bucket tool. Very cute. And what's nice is once I finish this prairie dog asset, I might be able to make it into other rodents that kind of stand on their hind legs. Think like a raccoon. All I would need to do is like add a little bit more of a snout, as well as the tail, maybe some pointier ears. Little trash panda. We can see here there's this invisible box around our hands, and while that might be important for games, as in like I would collide with this invisible box, the asset itself is relatively small, so it's not a problem. But generally, you would go in and you would crop, and so that would prevent that collision box. And we'll save that. Tiny little pause. Okay, so we'll work on his frame now. I want this to be a little bit taller. So our prairie dog is kind of like standing up, and they're a little bit more elongated than a rabbit might be. Rabbits are more hunched. So what I'll do is I'll add, depending on how this asset is shaped and faced, it looks like I want to add it to the Z-axis, which is the blue, and VoxEdit color codes it for me. So we'll go to 20. And I want his center, as well as the front of the body, like the stomach, I want to be the lightest color. And then this darker color, I want to change. So I'll go ahead and change to the darker one first. And I'll just paint all of these. That color is using a darker one. We'll keep that. And put it on the neck here. Wow. All right, and then for this dark brown, I'm going to go ahead and swap back to the darkest, or I should say the lightest tan. And that's going to be his stomach. Looks pretty good. And then we'll go ahead and elongate his torso here. So let's go ahead and swap to the box tool. And I'll just go ahead and get the scale of it first, and then I'll come back and fine tune it. Probably remove his face and his face. So it kind of gives the idea of a neck. Save it. And we'll bring the head up to match that new torso. Now it just looks dumb. Okay, I'm gonna shrink the neck a little bit. Doink doink. And we'll go ahead and crop it. Cool. The hands, now that I've elongated the torso, I'll probably move these up a little bit more. They're still slightly longer than I would like, so I might adjust those hands too. Like I'll make these a little bit smaller. So these two front hands, I'll remove just one face, should be enough. And all of our animations are going to be directly affected by this. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Starting from a template does have its pros and cons. For the Contest 22, you animated the characters in direct mode, but prefer to use the IK, but being the first time the box that I haven't learned it yet. Nice. Well, Ale, how'd you fare in the contest? Honestly, these contests are a great way to, encourage you to make something too. So, are there any assets you're working on in the meantime? Like maybe for your own personal collection or a game you'd like to make? I think the very first asset that I recommend people make is a self-portrait. So like a version of yourself in the metaverse. That's the best way to learn, I think. So I'm changing the edges so I can change what edges I can see using these buttons up at the top. We're going to get a nice little thin curved tail. So unlike the bunny template, I'm going to remove these sides. Change the color of that. And then maybe on the tip of his tail, much like this little, I'll put this back up on screen, my reference image. You can see he's got this nice little black tail there, little darkened tail. So we'll use one of the darker colors here. And we can even add like a gradient effect. And slowly build our tail to where it looks like it's, you know, growing that color. Nice. Save it. I mean, we're slowly getting to a gopher. The tail I'll probably adjust as well. One thing I'll probably do is go back here and then taking my rect tool, or you can use other tools, I'll shift these to where it's got more of a curve. Maybe take these as well. There we go. Nice. Let's go into the legs now. I'll change the darker brown to more of like a slender tan. See how that looks. It's more along the lines of what we're looking for. Yeah, the contests really are such a big help and encouragement to build. You got to get that portfolio up and running, though. Sandstorm usually has one running, and Sandbox puts out at least one a month, it feels like. Okay, we'll fix this ear. I'll use the box tool for this one. Looking doggy, little prairie doggy. Yeah, so prairie dog ears are relatively small. So we'll keep him tucked in like that. He looks cute. I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. The body overall, we're going to make him more gravitational aware. He was a little bit too off his balance there. And the frame is a little bit too tall here. I think it's the legs that are throwing me off. So we'll remove some of these. These are very hoppy legs, like a bunny. So we'll remove some of these. And while we're in here, we'll go ahead and paint these. Save that. Same with this leg. Crop it, save it. So I'll try my best to match what I've already made. But yeah, thanks for bringing questions, Ale. If there's anybody else out there or someone watching the VOD later on, you know, you're welcome to ask your questions here on our Twitch streams, which we're doing 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every week. Or you can catch us over on Discord. Feel free to tag me, no problems. He's looking more like a dog now, kind of like begging for treats. He's cute. A little bit more vertical. Just the feet. Yeah, that's nice. I think we got to give him a rump, a little butt. Needs a little butt. So that's going to be adding on the green axis. I'll just add one voxel here. And then using the line tool, and then followed by the face tool. Yeah, just a little booty. Cute. So here's the fun part. We can look at the other animations and see how bad it converted them. So if we go to the eat, yeah, it's still using the bunny, you know, animations. So we would likely go back and animate each one of these according to our new idle. So for example, I would take all of these animations for each one of these keyframes, holding down Control, and use this as the starting frame for all of my animations. So I would go back, right click, copy, then paste it, right click, paste. And then we would go to the end keyframe and also right click, paste. And so we can see it's automatically deforming to the old version. And so having a different skeletal like form. So I went from bunny to gopher, if you will, and we can see the difference. And yes, I will have to reanimate all these, and the best way to do so is probably delete all these keyframes. In fact, I will do that. We can see this one, he kind of like brought his fingers up to his face, kind of scrubbed himself. So deleting those keyframes, maybe I would do the same, but now having that in mind, like I could bring this up, rotating them. What the heck happened there? I think I grabbed the wrong limb. And then we try our best to make something natural, rotating them accordingly. It's so slow. We can at least move these over relatively quickly. And we'd also maybe copy these. So there's like a whole different set of skills required for animation where you're, you know, trying to make something natural. Like we twist his head, maybe cock it to one side. And then a couple frames later, paste the original. But we won't get into the meat of that. Instead, I did want to start on a digging animation. And so we could probably take like the this eat animation and use that as a good starting off point. Which, for the record, all of the template animations it comes with, these are the ones you want. These are the ones that are programmed into the game to work in the game maker. So, for example, eat, that's a animation any prey predators will be using is an eat animation. This is clearly a prey. I don't know, it's not the alpha gopher. So we would have him like go down, maybe like munch on something, or we can have him like pick up something, so his body might bend over and pick it up. I mean, this works for our uses, how it is. So we'll use this eat, and then I'll actually duplicate it. And I'm going to do dig 01. So this is going to be a custom animation for this character. And so I'll delete all these little ones in the middle, all these individual keyframes, because I'm not going to use them. And because I duplicated my animation, it's non-destructive because I still have the original. So using our dig, I'll have him kind of like bend over, maybe look like he's picking something up, or, you know, like kind of rummaging his paws down on the ground. Okay, gonna go eat. Sounds good, Ale. Let me share with you a Discord. I think there should be an invite to, yeah, here we go. So if anybody would like to join the Sandstorm Discord, you're more than welcome to @ me. I'm Halfd0rk on Discord. Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope you have a fantastic Wednesday, whatever you're up to. I'm just going to wrap up today's stream, working on this dig animation. So we'll have his body bend forward, his legs, you know, maintaining stabilization, and then his paws are going to be doing the work. So we can see how that looks. Yeah, it looks like he's bending forward. We do want to keep him on the ground. So we moved the body, and so that caused everything to move. So we'll go back to the body. Make sure it's touching the ground there. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this last keyframe as well. That way it's not snapping backwards every time we make a little progress. Sounds good, Ale. Enjoy your meal. I'll catch you later. All right, so now that he's bending forward, I'm going to go ahead and make new keyframes for each one of our paws. So he's going to like rummage around every couple frames. A little bit quicker than I would like, so I can adjust those keyframes. And then what I'll do is I'll copy paste the old ones. So right click, copy paste. The ones we've just made. Right click, copy and paste. Yeah, and so now it looks like he's kind of digging around. And I'll probably move his head a little bit. So it looks like he's kind of looking So maybe he'll spot something immediately. And then he's kind of like looking through the dirt. So that was a little bit too jerky. So we're spreading out the keyframes a little bit. Nice. And what we can also do is change the animation type. So instead of like a linear animation, we can make it more of a Bezier. So it's got like a curve. So it's not like an, think of it like point A to point B. So if you slide something, it's going at one, motion or momentum speed. But if we use like a Bezier, it starts slow and then it speeds up and then it ends slow. And so using those animation keyframe types, you can make a keyframe have kind of like a curve to it where it starts slow or it can start fast. And then like the midpoint, it slows down. And so we'll do maybe like a slow start and a slow end. That looks very natural compared to how we had it before. Cool. And then we'll end our keyframe. So we'll take the first frame and we'll select them all. We'll right click, copy. And then right here, we'll right click, paste. And then I'll delete any keyframes after that first, starting keyframe. So let's see how this looks. Now he's kind of like gradually standing up. So what we want to do is probably remove those keyframes we just added. And we want him to be down on the ground right here. What I'll do is I'll do an add keyframe to all. And then the next couple keyframes, he's going to be standing back up. So we'll take that first keyframe selection, select all of them, right click, copy, right click, paste. So he digs, and then he immediately stands back up. And we'll probably spread it out a little bit more. We'll make sure all the straggler keyframes are destroyed. And we can select all of these keyframes now and move them just a slight amount. Digging, digging, digging. He stands up, and he's back to his normal position. Yeah, that looks great. Pretty happy with that. So this is a good stopping point. Wow, we actually had a good end. So thanks everybody for watching. That's going to be it from us. Make sure to check out the Sandstorm contests, as well as if you're in Las Vegas over the next couple days, the live meet and greet at the CES 2023. That's the link for that if you want to learn more. But thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.